All right, so what do you want to know of the author? Put you on the spot.
Yes.
That's right. Nice ears. Yes. You don't have to hold your hand, but yes.
What made you think of writing the books?
Ooh. Are you going to be attending my talk? All right. Well, that's something I'm going to be talking about during the presentation. But briefly, I wanted to write the sort of story I would enjoy reading myself. And I really enjoyed reading fantasy growing up, so I thought, well, I'm going to try my hand at a big fantasy story. And that's what got me started on Eragon.
You could tell us, and in particular, could you explain what who she told the High Priest of Helgran that she was? This scared us so much.
That is an excellent question. No comment. I can't tell you that. I mean, I could. But, she told the High Priest her name. Her real name. Not her true name as is understood in the series, but she told the High Priest one of her names. And that plays into another story in the series. So that's something I will touch on when and if I return to Eragon's world. But that's something for a future story. But my goal with her character is every time I give an answer to raise at least 2 and possibly 3 more questions into perpetuity.
I think you succeeded.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll tell her that. I'll tell her that.
So does that indicate the possibility of a 5th book?
Yes. I have a 5th book all plotted out from start to finish. Well, mostly start to finish, but I laid the groundwork for it in both Brissinger and Inheritance, along with 3 other books. Some of the sort of loose ends in the books are really the beginnings of other stories, the parts of other stories. But I'm not going to do that directly after this book tour. I've been working on this series for 13 years, and I need a break. So I'm going to write some science fiction next and some other stories. And eventually I will return to Alagasia and write another story.
Who was your favorite character in the Inheritance saga and why?
Saphira, because I think she's just so cool. But then it's a close tie between Angela and Elva. But Roran is pretty cool too, and Nasuada is, but Angela and Elva were particularly fun to write. You had a question? What would I do, what changes would I make to the first book if I were to go back and write it again now? I think I've gotten a lot better technically as a writer, so I would probably change how things were worded. I might put a few little mentions of some things that I now know about in the world in the series, but that I didn't when I was writing Eragon. Nothing major though, I wouldn't change the story at all.
So is it possible that Murtagh and Thorn could return and be part of the New Order? He's my favorite character.
Yeah, Murtagh certainly had some good scenes in this last book, I think. He and Nasuada, those were my favorite scenes to write in this last book. Let's just say that in this 5th book, the hypothetical 5th book we're talking about, we will certainly see many of the main characters of the series return, but I don't want to say who exactly because that would be telling. Yes?
What advice do you have for kids who want to write?
Ooh. What advice for young writers? 1, read everything. Read what you enjoy, but also read outside your comfort zone, because you will learn more from that than you will just from reading whatever it is you like. But read. 2nd, write consistently. Write every single day. Write weekends, holidays, birthdays. Even if you're in the hospital, you better be writing. Okay, you can take Christmas off, but that's it. Every other day you need to be writing. Persistence really wins the day, wins the race. 3rd, find someone in your life, a teacher, a librarian, a friend, someone who's a good reader, who can look at your work and help edit it, who can help point out where you've gone wrong so that you can get better. I guarantee you will learn more from editing than you ever will from actually writing. Because the problem is the same thing with singing. You can't hear the mistakes you're making when you're singing. You need someone to listen to you and point out and say, that note is flat, or you're a bit off here, or it needs to be faster or louder. I mean, you can get a lot of the way on your own, but you need editing. write about whatever it is you love the most. Writing is often very hard work, and if you truly care about the subject material, that'll help you through the rough spots in working on a book. You know, and it doesn't matter what you are interested in, whether it's flying toasters or unicorns or whatever, I guarantee someone else is interested in the same thing. There's 7 billion people on this planet. Sheer odds say that no matter how odd you think your interests are, someone else shares them. So write what you want. Also, learn everything you can about whatever language you're writing in, whether it's English or not. And the language is the tool of the trade, and the better you understand it, the better you'll be able to get what's in your head onto the page into someone else's head. Also, I find it very helpful to outline everything before I write. Again, I compare it to music. It's very hard to compose a piece of music while you're performing it. It's much easier to compose it first and then concentrate on performing it as beautifully as possible. But again, that doesn't hold true for every author, so I just put that out there. And lastly, try to have fun. With all that, try to have fun.
Did you think the movie was an accurate representation of your book, and would you change any?
The movie is an accurate representation of the filmmaker's vision of the story. And the books are an accurate representation of my vision of the story, and everyone is free to enjoy them both on their own terms. I gave as much input as I could into the film, but ultimately they did what they wanted, and I did what I wanted in the books.
Is there a possibility that they could remake the movies?
There's a possibility that there may be more movies made in the Inheritance cycle, and there may be some news on that within the next few days, but I really can't say anything more than that at the moment, or some very large men in sunglasses are going to drag me away and lock me up somewhere. I didn't actually read Harry Potter until after I had self-published Eragon, my family and I. Until, actually, when was it? The 4th book was already out by the time I started reading it? 5th book? I got in Harry Potter pretty late. So I admired him enormously. I really enjoy Harry Potter, but it wasn't a big influence on me. So definitely Star Wars and Lord of the Rings were much more of an influence on me, along with A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin, the Redwall series by Brian Jakes, the Dragon Riders of Pern series by Andre Norton, the Gormenghast novels by Mervyn Peake, the War of Ouroboros by E.R. Edison, which you guys probably have never even heard of, Dune by Frank Herbert, which is awesome, and many, many other good books and good authors that I read growing up. Well, I read the books, I didn't read the authors. Can't read authors.
When did you start writing?
When did I start writing? Eragon? I started in 1998, so a very long time ago.
What was your favorite book in the series?
Ooh, good question. If we go by weight, then the last one. If we go by chronology, then the first one. If we go by quality, again, the last one. The first book, Eragon, will always have a soft spot in my heart because it was my first book. But I really think that the last book is the best book of the series, and since it is the end of the series, and you know, a writer likes to think that their last book is their best book, so really Inheritance is my favorite book in the series. All right.
Excellent.
Well, thanks for
Thank you.
the questions. This was fun. Sorry I can't answer all of them, but I will be taking questions afterward, and hopefully I'll answer some more of your questions during the presentation. So.